So it was like beyond amazing what you can do when you're passionately on purpose. So what did I do? I asked God. And how does somebody ask God? They go, God, what's your destiny for me? God, what's your destiny for me? God, what's your destiny for me? 400 times, push back sleep and ask. But make sure you've got pen and paper next to the bed, because in the middle of the night, God will wake you up and give you the answer, but you got to write down. You can't.
How do you ask the universe for what you want?
Wonderful question. So Chris and I wrote this book, and we said there are 3 channels to asking. Ask yourself, ask others, and ask God. Now, the big guy said, asking you receive, but he never delineated or detailed how to do that. So what we're saying is, when I was bankrupt and upside down, I'll do it through this story. I was sleeping in front of another guy's room for 6 months, and I kept saying, God, what do you want me to do here? And God said, no, Mark, what do you want? I said, I want to talk to people that care about things that matter, that would make a life transformative difference. Miracle number 1. Miracle number 2, I'm living in Hicksville, Long Island, New York. So you know that we are not high flying profiling. I go to my 3 roommates at breakfast. I say, boys, you know anyone that's not a Broadway star, a celebrity, a famous person, a lawyer, a doctor, PhD, or something else that's speaking, that's young, so I can relate to him or her? Guy said, here is my ticket. That you're going to hear the best young speaker you've ever heard, Chip Collins. He's out in Hauppauge, Long Island, New York. Bankruptcy courts have taken everything but this beat up old Volkswagen. I raised my little butt out there. That was the second miracle. I get a ticket to something I didn't know existed. Third, I watched this guy mesmerize the audience, Chip Collins, for 3 hours. At fourth, I go up to him and I say, Chip, teach me how to do the business. He said, look, kid, chance of you making it is 0. 1 in 1,000 make it as a speaker. So go do a real business. I said, no, I got a lot of willpower. Let me make my decision. He said, okay, what? I said, I'll buy you lunch. He said, okay, I'll tell you what to do, but you got to stay out of real estate because I own the 5 boroughs of New York. You do life insurance. It's a bottomless pit for motivation. I said, okay. He gave me the questions. He taught me how to do it. Left for 2 weeks, came back. So the miracle was that I did it. And then all of a sudden I'm doing it. And what was amazing is how well it worked. It worked. And then people kept saying, well, do you have that in a book? And, my first book was called Stand Up, Speak Out and Win. I to little audience of 6, 10, or 12, I was selling the book. I said, this is this book, but that was Stand Up, Speak Out and Win. I said, this isn't a national bestseller. It's not a New York Times bestseller, but it's my bestseller. And I want to sign to you, your wife, your kids, and your dog if you have one. And they all laughed, thought it was funny, but they gave me $10. I sold 20,000 copies at $10 each. That's $200,000. I thought I died and gone to heaven. Went out and bought me a brand new Chrysler Cordova car. Now remember, I'm bankrupt, so I had to buy cash. So it was like beyond amazing what you can do when you're passionately on purpose. So what did I do? I asked God. And how does somebody ask God? They go, God, what's your destiny for me? God, what's your destiny for me? God, what's your destiny for me? 400 times, push back sleep and ask. But make sure you've got pen and paper next to the bed, because in the middle of the night, God will wake you up and give you the answer. But you got to write down. You can't say, I'll remember it tomorrow. All of us have said that, and it doesn't work. You've got to get your little butt out of bed and tell your sweetiekins, hey, I listen to Mark, and some people think he's a whack job, but he's a pretty successful whack job. So let me just pretend that I'm going to get up like he did at 2:58 in the morning, and I'm going to have the answer, and I'm going to write it out in detail. And it's only going to have to happen once, and then we'll be successful, and we'll go on our merry way toward our destination. Isn't that cool?
Absolutely. And I like the way you say passionately on purpose. I mean, that phrase really sums up a lot about successful people, right? So
yeah, you got to have a magnificent obsession. Like your magnificent obsession is not only speaking at the university, but now speaking to the world, and the world needs you. Understand, the world looks to Americans. That's why I've spoken in 80 countries around the world, and my goal is speaking all 228 countries before I transition, when it's safe and open. But I would grail you to the same idea, because the world needs to hear from, like, well, on your podcast, we had that guy from the Caribbean say, Mark, I've been listening to you forever, and I need you to come down, wherever it was, St. Lucia, I think. But the point is, there's a lot of beautiful little Caribbean islands. I've been to most of them, but I haven't spoken at them. I'll just visit them. Well, heck, I'd like to go. You and I can make a tremendous, influential difference. And everybody listening, I want, by reflected glory of this podcast we're doing together, to catch the message that they're here to do something meaningful, impactful, important, difference-making, legacy-leaving, history-breaking, and history-making. How's that?
that sounds great. I love it. Thanks, Mark.
I'll drink to that, my green juice in the morning.